December 19, a light to the Gentiles. Luke 2:22 through 35. And when the time came for their purification according to the law of Moses, they brought him up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, as it is written in the law of the Lord, every male who first opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord, and to offer a sacrifice according to what is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. Now there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon, and this man was righteous and devout, waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him. And it had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not see death before he had seen the Lord's Christ. And he came in the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought in the child Jesus to do for him according to the custom of the law, he took him up in his arms and blessed God and said, Lord, now you are letting your servant depart in peace, according to your word, for my eyes have seen your salvation, that you have prepared in the presence of all peoples a light for revelation to the Gentiles and for glory to your people Israel. And his father and his mother marveled at what was said about him. And Simeon blessed them and said to Mary his mother, Behold, this child is appointed for the fall and rising of many in Israel, and for a sign that is opposed, and a sword will pierce through your own soul also, so that thoughts from many hearts may be revealed. 40 days after his birth, Joseph and Mary bring Jesus to the temple in Jerusalem to present him before God. The law of Moses stipulated that after a period of purification for the mother, the child was to be brought to the temple to be presented before God. Being the firstborn child in this family, he belonged to God in a very special way because every Israelite knew that the first and best was to be devoted to God. The fact that Joseph and Mary offered 2 pigeons tells us that they were poor. According to the law of Moses, parents were to offer a year-old lamb when they brought a firstborn son before God at the temple. Only if the family was too poor to be able to afford a lamb could they offer 2 pigeons instead. This tells us that God chose to be born into a modest family. At the temple is an old man named Simeon, a man who loves God and is close to him. He is filled with God's Holy Spirit, who has assured him that he will not die before seeing God's anointed one. The Spirit of God brings him to the temple that very day to fulfill his promise. When Simeon sees Joseph, Mary, and their boy, he takes Jesus in his arms and blesses God. He gives God credit for keeping his promise and tells God he is willing now to die happy because he has been granted the privilege of seeing God's salvation. Simeon knows some things about Jesus. He knows that the salvation he brings is for all humankind, carried out before all the nations of the earth. A light that will reveal God to the Gentiles, to everyone, Jew and non-Jew. Jesus is Israel's glory, God's crowning achievement with this chosen people, the very purpose for their election, the culmination of his revelation to them for the world. Joseph and Mary continue to be astounded at the things being said about Jesus. Simeon has a final word from God for Mary. He warns her that Jesus' life will not be easy. He will turn the world upside down, bringing low in his kingdom the proud and mighty, and raising up the meek and lowly. Many will oppose him. Mary herself will suffer greatly because of the things Jesus will suffer. It will be a sword through her own soul. Mary does not know this yet, but one day she will see her wonderful son nailed to a cruel Roman cross, hanging, tortured, and naked by the roadside outside Jerusalem, bleeding and tattered. She will watch him die in agony and shame. Simeon wants Mary to know before any of this happens that this is all part of God's plan. In the rejection and suffering of Jesus, the hidden thoughts of men will come to light. In that moment, the full hypocrisy of the religious elite will be made evident. In those dark days, men like Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus will find the courage to stand against the entire Jerusalem Sanhedrin, the Jewish high court, and side with Jesus even in death rather than validate his murder.